I am sitting with Brad Barron, who has been a client for about 7 months. And he was kind enough last week when I was in his area in Bellingham, Washington, to say, "Hey, I'll do whatever I can to help you." And I said, "Well, great, let's do a video testimony." So here we are. Brad is CEO of Barron Heating and Air Conditioning. They have over 200 employees. They have been growing, and he's a very intentional leader. And so, Brad, thank you for taking the time to share a little bit about your experience so far in the coaching and speaking.
Yeah, absolutely, Corey. Happy to help and happy to be here.
So, Brad, you hired me to be your executive coach in July of this past year. So, it's about 8 months ago. And why did you decide to get an executive coach? Had you ever had an executive coach before? And so, what was the reason you decided now's the time?
Yeah, no, I think it's a great question, and it's actually one I don't mind and actually get excited about sharing with my team. But the CEO of the company at the time, I was the COO, Chief Operating Officer, back in the summer of last year. It's also my father's name's John Barron. He came to me and said, "Hey, I'm looking at wanting to step into a different role, an executive chairman and coaching role." And I think you're the guy to step into the CEO role. And obviously, anytime that type of a big decision presents itself, but B, sort of that encouragement comes into your life. You sort of sit back, you reflect, you thank God on where you're at, but also go, what am I missing in order to make that transition successful? And in the past, I've had, and I still do have a lot of great mentors, from spiritual mentors to financial mentors to mentors in business. My dad being one of them, but one of the areas that I really wanted to make sure that I was able to continue to grow in was winning at home, having still that really great life work balance while transitioning into a role that could potentially become sort of me, like incorporate everything, every ounce of my being. And I didn't want that. I wanted it to be successful. I wanted to be able to support my team in a way that they deserve to be supported. I wanted to be able to support my wife and my three boys. I have three boys under 5, including 2 twins. So our house is crazy, but be able to just sort of support the team and support the family and do it well. And have someone that could challenge me and push me and motivate me that wasn't, in the business and wasn't a family or friend. So that was sort of the big reasons why I reached out on LinkedIn and said, "Hey, man, let's start talking."
For you, Brad, over the coaching, part of how the relationship works in coaching is we talk a couple times a month via Zoom, and then random text or emails or phone calls throughout. So a combination of organized and organic. Over the course of the few months, what has been some of the key takeaways or the key frameworks that have really helped make the difference to you, and you kind of can mark it like, hey, because of coaching, this happened?
Yeah, well, I can think of sort of 3 big buckets off the top of my head. One, from a sort of a third party non-stakeholder perspective, you've been able to be incredibly supportive in that capacity. And what I mean is sometimes when you're in the business and you're doing the work and you're living life at work and at home and doing all those things with the same people every single day, you can lose that perspective of sort of the bigger picture. You've talked a lot in our coaching sessions and even with our team last week about making sure you don't forget or lose sight of the gain, even though you've got big goals. And I think that having someone to check you on that is incredibly valuable. And so when we get a chance to talk on a couple times a month basis, that's really encouraging and helpful to get that sort of third party stakeholder perspective, being able to ask, "Hey, how did those things go? What have you accomplished? Or how did those things go? What have you accomplished? What's thank God for the blessings and the gains that you've had and continue to get after those goals." So that's one. You're an incredibly encouraging and motivating person. I think that you really help set up a system and a framework for accountability and prioritization. I think a lot of times as leaders, and I know you've been in this position before, you get pulled in a lot of different directions on the day to day, making sure that we stay true as leaders, whether you're a leader of a division, a department, an organization, a company, whatever it is, but stay true to our commitments, making sure we're keeping our time and our presence with people intentional and prioritized. You've really been able to help with that too. So those are, two or three things off the top of my head that I think have been incredibly beneficial for me during our time coaching together.
Mm-hmm. And that third party, I'm not an HVAC. I don't understand HVAC, but you've not noticed that to be a challenge, because a lot of times it's not necessarily about the industry. It's more about the individual.
Yeah, well, I completely agree. And actually, although I will say this, for those who are interested in having you out to coach their teams, you definitely did your research on our industry. You knew the nomenclature, the terminology, so you might be the expert, but you made sure you came prepared. And you know what? It resonated. People said, "Man, he actually knew what the name of that tech was, or he knew what that position did, or how that fit in the organization." So thank you. Even if you're not in the HVAC, electrical, plumbing world like we are, at least you fit in pretty well. So, but
Oh, that's good to
you don't
know.
have to be. So.
Well, I get asked a lot. Well, you aren't in the industry, and so much not about the industry. It's just about the individual. Hey, you tell me your goals. You know your business. I'll just try to help hold you accountable to get there and encourage you along the way. So that's great. Has there been one specific thing that you've just noticed to be different because of coaching?
Yeah, I think that if I honed in on one particular thing, we go through an exercise, and you actually took our leadership team through it as well, which is sort of drafting that personal, vision mission statement. That really it's a powerful tool. Sometimes it seems simple, but it's actually, and you talked about it last week, and I agree, it's really a lot of times challenging to take a lot of ideas, right, and consolidate it into one concise and intentional message. And I think that. For me, through this process, I've been able to slowly refine really like who I want to be, the ethos of Brad Barron. And I think by crafting that vision statement, leaning into it, I've been able to be, and part of my vision and mission statement is being more intentional and being present. And so that I can care for my team, I can advocate for my team, I can, be in relationship with my team. And I think that coming back to goals that continue to keep you aligned with who you are and like why God created you to be here on this earth or to lead that team or whatever the case may be has been really powerful. You bring a boatload of other tools to the table. We just had which is great. Our newest member of our HR team, our team development manager, is a guy by the name of Micah. He just did a 30-minute presentation going over IDPs, or individual development plan creation, for our team members moving forward. It's a big part of our development plan push. And he actually referenced two of the different things that you talked about last week. As he jokingly said, not jokingly, just chuckling, said, I was frantically taking notes as Corey was going through something like the leadership square as an example. And we've actually been able to incorporate already some of the tools of your teaching into what we do and initiatives we're rolling forward. So just really, really neat stuff. So there's a personal one, and then there's a professional win right there. HR is already grabbing on to what you're teaching, Corey.
All right, ROI already on the speaking engagement for you. That's fantastic. I like the leadership square itself. When I was taught it, I loved it as well. When my coach taught me, and so it's fun to see that one getting some momentum for you as well. As we wrap up the idea of coaching, who do you think is that right person to get coaching to benefit? I mean, a lot of people wonder if should they get a coach or not.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could be in a position like I was, where you're stepping into a even more pivotal role from an influence standpoint and a support standpoint. But you could be a leader that's maybe finding themselves less present at home than they want to be. You could be spinning your wheels at work in regards to you're doing the same thing over and over again, but don't really feel like you're making progress or getting traction. I think that sometimes leaders need that encouragement, the support from a prioritization standpoint, accountability. And I think this is something that people finally realize when they get to, I'll say, quote unquote, the top, or just in a higher level of leadership. Being an executive can be really lonely, right? And I say that as in you don't necessarily have as many people to bounce stuff off of as you do when you're working yourself up through the ranks of an organization. And I think that being able to build a relationship with someone, like I said, that can bring that third party perspective, can bring that level of accountability, prioritization, encouragement is really beneficial. And the last thing I'll say too, and I'll give you a compliment, you did a great job of this. you obviously are someone that speaks about your faith, and that's part of who you are, right? That's the ethos of Corey Carlson. I have a similar background, but we have a lot of people at Barron's leadership team that are not of faith, and you do a great job of being able to take all the concepts you bring to the table, and whether you believe in God or higher power or don't, you can connect with and relate with those things. So it doesn't matter who you are, whether you believe in God or not, or are, you know, a CEO or an executive, whoever you are. I think coaching can be for those people that, again, less present at home, could be spinning their wheels, need of encouragement, any of those things. So.
Oh, well, that's good. Well, thanks. All right, Brad, shifting gears into the speaking, you made the decision to bring me out to Bellingham, Washington. That actually was last week, and it was great. It was a blast, neat team, fun culture you're building. Plus, loved getting to go visit your facility, and pretty impressive what you guys are building and doing out there. Why did you decide to invest in an outside speaker and bring me in?
So pandemic hit, right, beginning of 2020. Uh, Everyone sort of put their head down, right? Go, do whatever you can to continue to succeed, to prosper, to keep your team, to keep them healthy, safe, all that stuff. And then after we got a grip on that, then it was all right. We want to continue to grow, so let's bring in industry experts from HVAC, electrical, plumbing. Let's bring in financial experts that can help with business acumen. Let's bring in customer experience experts that can help with sales and CSR work, all that kind of stuff. And we were just so head down and focused that we lost, I believe, as a company organization, we lost sight a little bit of those really important fundamentals, and that is growing the leadership skills of our leaders and future leaders, or what we call emerging leaders, right? We just not that we were intentionally disregarding them, but we were just so focused on other things. And so at the end of this year, this last year, 2022, it was probably, by the time, it was like the third leader at Barron came up to me, he's like, man, I really feel like I could benefit for some like soulful leadership coaching, right? Like that, you know, helps with, you know, things at work, helps at home, all that stuff. And obviously a good God aha moment. It's like, wait, hold on a second. I've been working with Corey the last 6 months on this stuff. And so it was, well, you remember the call I had with you, but it was a pretty easy conversation saying, hey, I think our team at Barron, our 25 leaders and our 25 emerging leaders could really benefit from some really solid, sound practices from a leadership standpoint to give them the tools to succeed at work and home. So that was what prompted the call to bring you out, and man, what a great investment.
Oh yeah, it was great, and it was, you know, those 25 leadership team. We did a full day with them, and then we did a half day with the emerging leaders. And in both groups, we talked about the 5 capitals. We talked about the personal vision statement, as you mentioned. For one group, we did the trade vision statement. For kind of both groups, we talked about leadership pipeline, which is a lot of leadership tools to, you know, give the leaders. And so a lot of content over the day and a half. You mentioned Micah's story about using a few of them in his very recent HR rollout of some ideas that they want to do. But what has been the feedback from the team? Were they receptive to have a speaker come in that focuses on home and work? Did they think it was, you know, too much? Keep my home away from work. You know, let's just talk about work. You're getting too personal. What was the overall feedback that you saw, Brad, and you've heard from the team?
Well, on that note you just said, I think that there was in a good way, a realization that it's impossible to separate completely work from life. And I think actually you're at a disadvantage when those people try to do it. And by the way, that's coming from someone that used to think, because I'm great at, and a lot of leaders are at compartmentalizing, right? Different things. You have this thing you're doing over here, good compartment in your brain. You have this thing you're doing over here, good compartment in your brain, right? But when it comes to life and work and life, I think it's easier and actually more fruitful to lean into how those two are connected. So a lot of the leaders said, hey, man, I didn't realize that, you know, what I did at home and how I engaged with my, you know, wife or girlfriend or, you know, kids, parents, whatever it was, so dramatically impacted for the better or for the worse what's going on in your day to day. Like one of my coworkers in the emerging leader group said, you know, and you must have used an example like this when you guys were talking, but he made the comment that, yeah, I didn't realize until reflecting on it how big of an impact it made when my wife texted me something that was challenging during the middle of the day. and it just totally threw off, right, the rest of my day. And how that was totally connected to whatever was going on at home wasn't working, right? And it was just dripping right over, right, or flowing right over into my work. And I know that's a simple example, but that's really real. But yeah, I mean, I had team members say, best leadership coaching workshop they've been a part of. A number of people shared that they thought it was really nice that they felt comfortable and safe engaging with you, as well as the other teammates. Like our emerging leader group, unlike our leadership team, which meets on a monthly basis, we all 24, 25 of us, we know each other pretty intimately. The emerging leaders they're spread out across, 6 different divisions and 20 different departments, right? So you got 26 people or 25 people that don't necessarily work with each other in the day to day, yet they were sharing things and engaging because they felt safe, and they felt like they were comfortable with being a part of that dialogue. So obviously your facilitation and the content really helped there. And then the last thing I'll share is, and it was great, simple yet powerful tools to be more intentional and present. And I actually quoted that. We had a happy hour afterward. We were all 50 people together. It was a great time. And one of our plumbing superintendents said and I just thought that was such a powerful quote to me. Simple yet powerful tools to be more intentional and present. And I think that really does a good job sort of summing up what we were able to talk about.
Oh man, it does. That's great. That's fantastic. Well, I've enjoyed it. I know we've even talked about some future ideas and things we've had. So I look forward to the continued partnership. I thank you for investing in the coaching and the speaking, the workshop. It is neat what you're building with Barron, and I'm glad and grateful to be a part of it. So thank you, Brad. Any closing thoughts, comments? I appreciate this video testimony a ton.
Yeah, no, I just, man, I feel very blessed to have you as a coach. I think I feel safe sharing that you're a friend of mine, and also just thank you for supporting our leadership team and emerging leaders. Yeah, we already had folks saying, "What's next with Corey? What's next with growing as a leader?" So, man, I think you maybe wrote a second book, so maybe there's some more content there
That's
that we can
right.
dive
Second
into.
book. We also got a workshop on time management. We've got a few. So we
Very
got
good.
Enneagram. We've talked that. So yeah,
Yep.
we've got lots to do. But anyways, I thank you. Thank you very, very much for the support, and thanks for just today hopping on video. I appreciate it greatly.
Yeah, thank you, buddy. I appreciate you.